What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Wrestling Inc. podcast for March 9th, our Wednesday edition, non-Raw edition. I am joined by the, I guess it wouldn't be critically acclaimed because we don't have critics per se, but our viewers have acclaimed you, Rob. Our viewers like you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've gotten some good feedback, so I'm back for another week. My week-long trial went well. And Sean is like, okay, I'll bring you back for another week long. I'm like on the New Japan contract. Instead of a year, I get 1 week, and we see how it goes. But yeah, so far I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking all of the non-Raw issues of the day, and I'm glad we get to continue that.
Now, I'm wondering if I screwed up the camera thing and if I have to switch manually back between yourself and myself. I'll check out the page
is it not working?
Check that out. I'm not sure. I did it one time, and the whole broadcast was me trying to adjust my hair because I had been awkwardly trying to grow it out.
Great.
And nobody saw Vince, and I guess people were upset they didn't have to see or get to see Vince Russo's face.
You want to see Vince, everybody. You want to see Vince. I understand it. I will look up on the old iPhone gimmick, and we can test this live on the air.
Well, I have it. Working. I have it pulled up on the video page and all that stuff. But either way, pretty big non-Monday Night Raw week.
Yeah.
Did you end up going to UFC 196?
I went to Las Vegas, and guess what happened?
What happened?
I went to some of the pre-show events. I was down in the area, and some fool was willing to pay more than I paid for the UFC tickets and bought them from me because he just liked my seat, even though there were a lot of them. So what I did, because there were a lot of locations showing it on closed circuit and a lot of locations showing it outside, I decided instead of going live in the building with being accosted by many a drunk Irishman, I was going to watch this with the people that I went to Vegas with. We ended up going to a sports book, looking at some of the betting options, and I'm proud to say my aunt actually put a parlay. This is a true story. Put a $50 parlay on Nate Diaz and Miesha Tate to win both of their fights. She was not buying this Conor McGregor hullabaloo. She was not buying Holly Holm. She put a $50 parlay, a nice little small parlay on Miesha and Nate Diaz, and made a pretty good night out of it. So we did not end up going to the live event per se, but we did watch the show in the excitement. And I can tell you after the event, because I didn't go live, I was much more energetic. We had a much longer night ahead of us. So thankfully, I think I made the right decision, even though being in that atmosphere when Nate Diaz tapped out Conor McGregor would have been really cool. But you know what? There's going to be plenty of Conor McGregor fights in Las Vegas. So I think I made the right decision.
Whole lot of them, because those Irish people travel. We'll talk about UFC 196 in a moment, but a lot of NXT stuff. I was instructed by our listeners that we should be talking NXT first. So that's what we're doing. A lot of stuff. Somebody says my hair is fabulous. You know what? Actually, it's not, guys, but it's okay.
It's fabulous. Okay. It's a fabulous haircut. Yeah, it is a fabulous haircut. But you know what? I believe what is happening is that you are indeed the only one on screen, so people can hear the disembodied voice of me, or unless you're seeing something different, maybe you are.
I'm seeing it differently now. I clicked something that fixed it. So yeah, because I had the live feed pulled up. So
I'm not moderating this. I don't even know. I don't use Google Hangouts. Like, I am a total novice to the Google Hangout, which is a really cool platform because it allows everything to be easy. We can concentrate on the talking, and you get to hear us, and see us, and all this jazz, as long as I'm not controlling it. Because I click on myself, my pretty little face, which is horribly sunburned, by the way, because I
must be nice.
Oh my God. So we had one good day in Vegas, like one really good day weather-wise. It was funny because I'm leaving 20-degree weather here in Northeast Indiana, and we went and we got 55-degree weather, which was great comparatively speaking. But when you go to Vegas, you don't want to
what did you come back to? What kind of weather did you come back to in Indiana?
So we left. I literally got back 1 hour ago. 1 hour ago. If I had left yesterday, we would have been leaving 70-degree weather to come back to 72-degree weather. So, even split. Today, I left 75-degree weather. Sadly, would have loved to stay one more day. Left 75-degree weather to come back to about 55, so not too bad. For the most time here, it was in the 20s, 30s. You got really good weather for the most part in Las Vegas, but that Tuesday, we spent all day in the sun. It was great. I got super burnt. I'm wearing this hat not to show my love and support for Bryce Harper's Washington Nationals, but basically to hide my red, shinier than ever bald head.
Well, guys, definitely want you to send in your questions on YouTube and WrestlingInc.com, both. Also on Twitter if you want to. Already have a few coming in. As always, this show brought to you by onit.com/wrestling. Do you know what a nootropic is, Rob?
I don't, but is this a new product I'm going to have to go try?
No, this is a nootropic. Alpha Brain, my favorite supplement on the universe. Alpha Brain helps me work 366 days a year this year. 366. I published an article, at least probably 2, every single day last year. I'm going to do it again this year. I'm going to publish on my wedding date.
Oh, wow.
I'm going on a honeymoon this year, and I'll be posting. I'll still be here. If we have a podcast, I'll still be on it during my, on it, get it? During my honeymoon because of onit.com/wrestling and Alpha Brain. You can save 10% if you go to onit.com/wrestling. Alpha Brain is great. It's got crucial components that help you remain calm, focused, and mentally aware. Things like that. A bunch of WWE superstars use Onnit, like Cesaro, Seth Rollins, Triple H. And if you don't like it, they'll give you your money back. Also, ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. You can go there and get a great deal on the Max Pack. I use it myself. Several years ago, I had a really, really bad neck injury. Looked like I was going to have surgery. I did a lot of DDP yoga, a lot of stretches, rehabbed it, things like that, mainly through DDP yoga. And I got to avoid surgery, and that's pretty awesome. Also, check out Jake the Snake, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, available on Vudu, PlayStation Network, Amazon, iTunes, all that good stuff. Wrestling Inc. even makes an appearance in there. And also, DDP is going to be doing a live DDP Yoga workshop the Sunday of WrestleMania. So go to his appearance page on ddpyoga.com to check that out. ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. But a lot of cool stuff this week, Rob. I went to Columbus for the NXT WWE experience thing. That was pretty cool. It's physically draining, though. I watched 27 NXT matches over the course of 30 hours, and I didn't want to see NXT for a long time after that.
Yeah, you go into an event like that is but hey, we talked about the Lucha Underground live events, right? And how they're going to South by Southwest. I envision it's going to be very similar to what you saw over the weekend with NXT, watching all the matches as you did and all the superstars being available for different events, appearances, signings, whatever. But yeah, that NXT really takes over. I mean, Triple H has ingrained NXT as part of that weekend now after only being there for 2 years, which is a really good thing. I mean, you're getting those who may not be watching wrestling regularly, and you're getting them instead of, going to a WWE show. You're like, okay, what's this NXT? Oh, this is cool. These guys are down to earth and doing wrestling that I can really enjoy. So it's really a strong relationship for the brand of NXT. So that's cool that the weekend was a good time for you. I saw that you posted a lot of the videos up on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube, so you can go watch. Do you post? Because I saw one. I saw something.
I posted several videos on Instagram. Then I did like a compilation.
Yes.
Of those. And
okay, because I saw you were you were hanging out with, was it Alexa Bliss?
Oh yeah, I talked to Alexa Bliss and I talked to American Alpha briefly. And I mean, I don't know how much Raj would want me to elaborate on this. WWE doesn't like to give wrestling websites interviews generally because, they want the Sports Illustrateds and the local newspapers and the people that wouldn't otherwise cover them. But the WWE was very good to us. They usually are pretty good to us. And he was getting me Alexa Bliss. Then American Alpha walked up and they're like, hey, interview us. And I was like, oh, cool. Like one of my, I try to not have favorites in wrestling because I do treat this like a job, but they're just so fun to watch. And I only had like 2 or 3 minutes with each one of them, but Yeah, I got to ask them about their Steiner's inspired gear, which I thought was cool. And Alexa Bliss is a really, really sweet person. And you have no idea, like, how short some of these people are in person. And you're like, oh, they are short people, because even when you're live, you see them on an elevated stage and they all seem larger than life, as almost everybody does on TV. But Alexa Bliss is like maybe 5 feet tall.
Alexa Bliss is a tiny human.
Yeah, she is.
She's a tiny human, but she could beat both of us up.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Alexa Bliss, it was funny. She got a bit of a pop when she came out because she is a Columbus girl.
Yep.
And she had to heal the crowd, but I kind of saw a little smile creep on her face because last year she came out and and I'm sure it was weird for her because she's been competing at the Arnold Sports Festival since she was 5 years old through gymnastics and fitness and things like that. And she didn't get much of a reaction last year when she was a baby face and hadn't been on TV in a while. This time she got a good pop several times actually and had to heal it up. She had a really good match with Asuka. Very good stuff. I had a lot of people asking me about Mandy Rose. She had a terrible match with Billie Kay, but then the next day, she looked really good for her experience level in a tag match with Asuka, Emma, and I think Peyton Royce. And it goes to show you how important it is to have an Asuka or an Emma or a ring general in there with somebody, because she looked completely fine. I would have thought that she'd been wrestling for a couple of years had I just seen that.
I hope Mandy Rose does really well, because she's coming from the, sometimes the stench of being the tough enough contestant, how you didn't just get up there from the indie scene. And if you want to make it over in NXT without it being very difficult, you want to have that pedigree, that caliber of resume coming from the indie scene or coming from Japan or Europe or somewhere else outside of WWE. And Mandy Rose doesn't have that. She's there as the tough enough competitor. So I hope Mandy Rose does well. I hope she gets positive responses more so than Eva Marie, because she doesn't seem like she's going to be the Eva Marie type. Like, Eva Marie doesn't even seem like the Eva Marie type where you think it's just this conceited girl who thinks everything is owed to her, but that sometimes is her character. I hope they do really well, because you're going to start seeing some of these women go up to the main roster, and the Mandy Roses, the Eva Maries, the Asukas, the Emmas. If they don't go up, they're going to be the total division. If Bailey isn't sticking around for the rest of the year. You mentioned last year, I was at that Columbus show last year, NXT's first trip outside of Florida, except for those 2 shows in Georgia. That was a really fun show, but you're right. Alexa Bliss did not get the hometown reaction because that crowd was there to see stars, and she was wrestling Sasha Banks, who was a top star, and they wanted to see Sasha Banks.
Another interesting thing, last year, they would have some people there that had not been on TV yet, but were about to be on TV, like Dana Brooke. Alexa was coming back to TV. I'll have to look up a few other names, but there were the people that they put on the shows were people that were about to be on TV. Mm-hmm. I can't say that some of these people are going to be on TV. The Protein Brothers, I don't even know if you know who they are. King Constantine, they're no way in hell they're getting on TV anytime soon.
Well, one I'm really excited for is Dylan Mile. Dylan Mile is, if he becomes a somewhat competent wrestler, is going to be huge.
He, his hands are about the size of an SUV.
They're massive, but he has that like Bruno Sammartino look on steroids. Yes. And like, which is crazy to think.
Not speculating that he's on steroids.
No, but Bruno looked like he was on steroids, and he's just a big, massively natural looking guy. And this Dylan Mile guy comes out and he looks like one of those people. He's got the massive ham hocks. He's got the huge giant hands that are going to outdo Big Show. And he can just go out there, grab your head, crush it down. And then he looks like he's going to build a wheel afterwards. Like, no offense to Dylan Mile, but he looks like he's just going to go out there, beat you, and then club your girl and drag her off.
I think he goes by Dylan Miley now, but that's about. Yeah, I think so.
Oh no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Yeah, but that's about all he did in his match. He had a match with Apollo Crews. Then he worked the next day as a babyface with Dan Matha, who also no way he can be close to TV. But yeah, and Tommaso Ciampa didn't work the shows. He did sign autographs and stuff, but was not wrestling. But yeah, they're more limited obviously this year than they were last year, because last year Kevin Owens, Neville, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Baron Corbin was just kind of getting heated up around then too.
Well, you mentioned Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin was still the babyface, but working a heel on the house shows, getting ready for this current character because he wrestled Tyson Kidd, and Tyson Kidd worked as a total babyface. And this is all on the LC Pavilion actual live event that I'm referring to, because I didn't get the cool experience like you got this year, where you go to the NXT, like the matches during the Arnold Classic event. I went to the one house show. But yeah, Tyson Kidd worked as a babyface while Baron Corbin worked as this anti-indie heel. He was starting to really get a grasp for the character, and to see how, far he's come a year after that. I mean, Baron Corbin has what it takes to make it, because this guy can adapt, work, and evolve a character, and he's more than competent in the ring. So I'm really excited to see from, that day one of the heel turn from Baron Corbin, seeing his progression, because Baron Corbin to me has all the talent to make it.
Oh, I think so too. And I think the anti-indie gimmick is great. Somebody asked how he looked against Apollo. It was he looked competent. But it was a lot of rest holds, like grounded waist locks and headlocks and things like that. He wasn't exposed by any means. But yeah, there were a lot of guys that I look at and I'm like, well, they're not going to be on TV. Meanwhile, last year I saw Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens. I saw Dana Brooke versus Bayley, Sasha Banks on the show. But you never know how these cards will look a year from now. I mean, maybe one of these people will be super over. But yeah, Bayley, incredibly over, unbelievably over. Arnold Schwarzenegger was there, and he literally said, "It's not a tumor."
Yeah,
he said it in the ring. He was reeling off all his catchphrases, and one of the fans screamed that one out, and he said it. He looked so thrilled to be there with Triple H. It was really cool. A lot of cool Q&As, and I got a lot of pictures for the site and things like that. But yeah, any questions you all have about it, send it along. But also, NXT tonight, we had one match, and I love the way they did this. At the beginning of the show, Corey Graves and Tom Phillips said, "Oh, we have Bayley on the show tonight. We have Asuka on the show tonight. American Alpha versus the Vaudevillains." And this show went the whole hour, and near the end, they're like, "We got to reschedule these matches. We didn't know this match was going to go a full hour." I love the way they did that. And Samoa Joe won with a coquina clutch. Rob, what do you think about the result? And now we have Joe versus Finn Balor, second matchup at TakeOver Dallas.
Yeah, like you said, the match, Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn going the full card tonight. The one match takes over the full show. So another long match that we have to talk about over the last weeks. I mean, coming off of the week of Trevor Lee and Roy Wilkins, we have another long match out there in the world with Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe. But you're right, and Samoa Joe getting this win. I remember, having back when this match was taped, which was a month ago, a little over a month ago, I believe. Back when this match was taped and you saw the result, you're like, okay, that's a little surprising. And now we're seeing it in action here. Still a little surprising that they went with Samoa Joe, but as you're going to, find out later, and it certainly fits into place. But Samoa Joe getting this win here, going up against Finn Balor, there's a lot of possibilities. As Finn Balor kind of starts to act a little bit more like he's tired of kind of riding the NXT bandwagon for everyone else, and maybe wants to a little bit more focus on him. There's a lot going on here that I'm really excited to see. Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, a more than worthy main event for NXT TakeOver Dallas. Sami Zayn just putting on another awesome display. I thought the match itself kind of dragged a little bit, but going 50 minutes is going to do that sometimes, especially in front of Full Sail, where that crowd really gets into things, but they didn't know this match was going to go that long. So it's not like they were, drumming up support for this long match like they kind of were with Bayley and Sasha Banks. Like, they wanted to make sure everyone loved every single minute of that Sasha Banks Bayley match. Whereas this one, at a certain point, they're like, okay, it's still going. The fans kind of figured it out that it was about to go very long, about halfway through, and it picked up again. I thought the match was fun. I thought the show was fun. I like exactly what you mentioned, that they started announcing who was going to be on the show, and it didn't happen. Like, this is a reality aspect that, okay, we have to bump these guys the next week because Samoa Joe just took over the entire show. But I was surprised at the result initially upon hearing it. It was a cool match to watch. And Samoa Joe getting the match at NXT TakeOver Dallas. My question to you, now that we know this main event for NXT TakeOver Dallas, and WrestleMania weekend, it's crazy. WrestleMania weekend is nuts. We don't know what's going to happen with any of these guys in the main roster. You know, we saw Sami Zayn on Raw this week. Looks like he's on Raw to stay. Does Samoa Joe win the title? Does Finn Balor retain the title? Do any of these guys show up on Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania? Are outsiders coming in? There's a lot of possibilities. What would be your prediction right now on March 9th for what's going to happen at the beginning of April?
I predict that Finn Balor and the Balor Club will interrupt a Steve Dahl versus the Mauler match.
Okay, yeah. How did I know that you were going to give me an answer like that? Because I'm going through this, like, I'm going to ask this guy for a prediction, and he's going to joke it off because he's probably not prediction guy.
No, I'm
still learning our relationship, Sean.
I can do predictions. I'm happy doing predictions. If Balor, I think Balor's got to come to the main roster. He's making a lot of money. He's making main roster money right now from what reports have said, and Anderson and Gallows are ready. They don't need NXT. They don't. The WWE, the main roster needs them. The tag team division really needs the Balor Club right now. I think probably Samoa Joe, and then maybe Apollo Crews is going to move up there in that spot, and then Itami will come back. So eventually, but losing Sami Zayn and Finn Balor, that'd be big. That'd be a big blow to NXT, especially with all these live events that are coming up.
Yeah.
Hard to say, but I think it's Samoa Joe's time. I can't imagine them giving him a rematch and then not putting him over.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Finn Balor's time is over. I could see him going to the main roster. I can see Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows coming in. We talk about all the possibilities for NXT TakeOver Dallas. I don't even want to begin to think what the Balor Club could actually do on Raw, because there's just, you go exponentially as far as the growth there for possibilities. Samoa Joe, to me, wins this one. I don't know who's next in line, because if Sami Zayn is already on the main roster, who else do you have down there? Is it Apollo Crews? Is it Baron Corbin? Is it someone, that would be a babyface to go up against the heel Samoa Joe? Or does Samoa Joe turn babyface from this show? Like, he's had this long series with Sami Zayn. He could beat Finn Balor. Do we have some type of turn there? I don't really want to fantasy book this show. I want to enjoy it. I think it's going to be a remarkably fun show for those who are live, for those who are watching on the network. But that main event title match, not only do I think it'll be a really good match, but finding out what happens is like my number one anticipation for this entire WrestleMania weekend, maybe even more so than Shinsuke Nakamura and seeing what he does.
See, I forgot all about Nakamura. So, I mean, if you lose Balor, Nakamura can slide in there. I think he can.
Nakamura can absolutely slide in. And if you're bringing him in, and he's going to be in NXT,
Nakamura and Joe, holy
think about it.
Balls.
Think about this. I mean, it's insane, first of all. But you have Nakamura down there. Whether he slides into that spot or not, we'll see. But finding out what happens with that main event picture, and I'd say more than just that NXT TakeOver special. This entire WrestleMania 32 weekend might just be the most insane weekend we've ever had. And you add the NXT special into that. You add in the Hall of Fame aspect of it. You add in the fact that, if you're a New Japan fan, Kota Ibushi is coming back to the United States and wrestling on Saturday. So there's a lot going on that weekend, but Raw is really where it kind of caps off. Don't you feel that way, Sean? Like, WrestleMania is a great event. You look forward to it, but probably the final half hour of Raw is what most people look forward to most nowadays. Like, who's going to show up? Who's going to come up from NXT? What's going to be the big angle for the rest of the year? Because if you think Roman Reigns is going to win the world title, I don't think Triple H is going to be in that picture anymore. I think it's a one and done. Who's next for Reigns? Does Balor come up and challenge Reigns? What does someone show up?
I don't think they'll bring anybody straight up from NXT to challenge in a main event, because I don't know that Vince McMahon has the confidence in that. And that leads to a question we have on the board. Do you all think that Sami Zayn will be booked well? No, I don't, because the track record has shown itself, with the rare exception of Rollins, Ambrose, and Reigns. That situation, Kevin Owens could be a big star right now. If he would have gotten a couple of wins over John Cena, sure, John can get one back. He's John Cena. But he could have been something else. He could appeal to a different type of person. I don't think Zayn will be booked right, but what I think will happen is he'll probably, and not to the extent of Daniel Bryan, but he'll be embraced like Daniel Bryan, and people will be like, we don't like that he's being treated like crap. Or worst case scenario, it happens like Dolph Ziggler, where people just stop caring about him. I hope that doesn't happen. That is a worry to me. Also, we had somebody ask how to get into wrestling because they want to do it. Rob, we'll tell each of them how we got into wrestling, and there's many ways, obviously. How did you get involved?
I got so I first started watching wrestling in '97. My brother was watching WCW, and I started watching WCW, and then we found WWF. My first WWF TV moment was watching the Raw where Jeff Jarrett came back and cut his shoot promo on Eric Bischoff. So to this day, Jeff Jarrett, #1 wrestler in all of my life. So that's how I started watching it. How I got involved, crazily enough, when I was a senior in high school, I actually tried to promote a show here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, with a main event of Chad Collier versus Shark Boy here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It drew 7 people. It was a money draining experience, but I did it. I accomplished it, and eventually got into refereeing, made some friends, and became a referee, and did that regularly through 2008, 2009. And now not so much. Now I pretty much just stick to the, gas bagging about pro wrestling and hoping that people don't, tirade me with death threats and the like. But that's how I got into wrestling. I started promoting shows and became a referee working exclusively in Marion, Indiana, and then branching out from there.
That's pretty cool. Before this, I hadn't known that you were a referee, but that's pretty awesome. I didn't know that you promoted shows either.
I promoted 2 in Fort Wayne. I promoted 2 in 2004. The second one was main evented by Colt Cabana versus a local wrestler named Big Mofo J.
That is an awesome indie name.
Very PG and very indie. Very awesome. Big Mofo J. Also had Chad Collier and Nigel McGuinness. Chad Collier was kind of my in because Chad Collier, I had seen him on local events in Indiana, and I was a really big fan. He was starting to become bigger in Ring of Honor. He had the big Ace Steel match in Chicago, which was the First Blood, which was a really crazy match. So he was getting bigger, and he was kind of my in. I mean, he's who got me in contact with Shark Boy. He's who got me in contact with Brian Kendrick. I had Brian Kendrick on the show until he got signed. So that eventually didn't happen, but Chad Collier was my in, promoted the 2 shows, refereed a lot locally. When I was going to school, I refereed a local indie that worked around the weekends around school, and eventually made my way to IWA Mid-South. If you know who Ian Rotten is.
Of course.
I was referee for IWA Mid-South for 2.5 years. That was pretty much my highest profile, but it is what led me to referee inside the ECW arena. So I did referee matches in the ECW arena, which was probably one of my more cool experiences in inside pro wrestling.
That's fantastic. I got involved, I would say I wanted to be a pro wrestler like my whole life, but I was just too small because what wrestling, I knew going in, I was like, if I get trained, am I going to be wasting my money? Because who wants to hire? Then I was 160 pounds. So I got involved in MMA, put on muscle, things like that. Mm-hmm. Did that for a long time. And actually my MMA coach is certified under Billy Robinson as a catch-as-catch-can wrestling coach. So I got my fundamentals there and finished up, how promotions will do the put the ring together, we'll train you type of thing. There was a small promotion locally that did that and helped kind of finish up my training and things like that. And I do like very bottom level indie stuff, wrestle maybe 4 or 5 times a year, but I mean it when I say DDP Yoga helped me get back in the ring, guys, because I didn't think I'd be able to do that. And by the time I got into MMA, because I realized that was not for me, when we had 17, 18-year-old kids that were coming up and had been training since they were 14.
Yeah.
And I was approaching my late 20s.
Yeah.
And my reaction time was already going. I was like, okay, I'm going to see if I can just as like a bucket list thing, try to do some matches and things like that. And luckily I got to go to like a seminar of Billy Robinson's before he passed, things like that. But I just knew the people. Somebody says, Sean, are you a jobber? Actually, I'm not, but my thing is I go out there as a heel and we do like 4 or 5 shows a year. And my thing is like, I just want to talk trash to the crowd the whole show because it's very, very one-off. And I feel like if I troll these people, I should get my comeuppance by the end of the show. I should get my ass kicked. I want. It's weird. I want to be a jobber because ultimately I never want to really do much more than what I do because my body couldn't handle it. There's no way it could. But yeah, there's other ways. Like a lot of people, the OVW, very reasonably priced out here. You'll hear mixed things about them, but I don't know that I agree with some of the things they do with their students after they've been trained, and they may or may not pay a lot of guys. I don't know, but that's a way. Just basically getting into a wrestling school, and you got to make some connections and know the right people to get involved. At the higher levels, you got to have an extreme skill set or a fantastic body or a great pedigree in football or wrestling, pretty much. But yeah, those are our stories. Also, guys, by the way, we'll be back here tomorrow night at 10. Raj is supposed to join us, and post-Roadblock, Rob and I will be here. So you guys keep asking for more podcasts, and we'll give them to you. Another thing on NXT before we move along that I really liked, and they added this in, Samoa Joe finished off Sami Zayn with the Kikina clutch, and Corey Graves, like I mentioned it on Monday, JBL's Conor McGregor reference was so forced and crappy, and JBL's terrible. Michael Cole saved it when Sasha Banks submitted whoever she submitted, Tamina or Naomi. But Corey Graves' UFC 196 reference was so just natural. He mentioned, he was like, the rear naked choke took out Conor McGregor and Holly Holm this week, and now it took out Sami Zayn. This guy is fantastic.
No, yeah, Corey Graves is great. And that's the beauty about having the Performance Center there, because they can tape commentary. I mean, you tape so far in advance that likely something might change or there might be a reference you want to get in. So it really helps that you can go and, the Tuesday before the show airs in the network or the Monday before, you can tape all new commentary for everything. And it sounds like you were doing it live. So it's really cool how they can do that. And, most of the commentary is probably taped there after the effect, but it's a cool reference. Corey Graves is great. We talk about Byron Saxton and some of these announcers who just aren't doing it for us. And Corey Graves is the guy who can go on the main roster anytime and fit right in. I mean, he had a rough start in my view when he first started with NXT announcing. A very rough start. He was slow. He was apprehensive to kind of get in there with certain points. But here we are a year later, and he's the most natural guy they have.
I agree. I think he's fantastic. He's witty. He's quick. He says things that make sense. He has no discrimination towards heel or face. He's just him. I think that's great. I thought him putting over how crazy it was that Austin Aries was debuting actually helped the segment with Baron Corbin, because now you have Corey Graves, who always talks about how he's seen these guys in the indies, right? He says he's ran in their circles before, or he's met them in different locations before. Here he was just popping like nuts for Austin Aries. And then you have the Baron Corbin beatdown. So now, if Corey Graves says this guy is a big deal, it's a big deal. He's super excited. And now I really hate Baron Corbin more because I wanted to find out who this Austin Aries is. And I can't believe Austin Aries finally shows up and he only gets 1 second of screen time. I hate that Baron Corbin. And now that Baron Corbin Austin Aries match at NXT TakeOver is just going to be insane. There is not a bad match on the show. Not a bad match on NXT TakeOver Dallas. But what I wanted to ask you, and it was brought up in the chat room, someone asked, do we see Roadblock causing any changes towards WrestleMania? But let's take it one step further. We have an NXT Tag Team title match at WWE Roadblock. The Revival against Enzo and Cass. Could this show change NXT Dallas anyway on Saturday? I hope so. And I've said it for months that I wanted Enzo and Cass versus American Alpha. I want the two most over teams in NXT history to face each other at this giant show. I really, really, really want it to happen. Holy crap, Chad Gable is a joy to watch in person. I got to see him and Simon Gotch mat wrestle for like 4 or 5 minutes straight, and it was unbelievable. I have to see a 20-minute match between these two. But I like Dash and Dawson. I think they're fantastic. I do, but I want to see, and I'm sure they would have a better in-ring match with American Alpha. But it's just like, it's weird. Like, I know that John Jones would have a much better fight with Anthony Rumble Johnson, but I want to see him face Daniel Cormier because it's bigger. So that's how I feel about that. How do you feel?
I feel like if it's going to cause any change for NXT TakeOver Dallas, it's going to be a triple threat match with Enzo and Cass added to the Revival and American Alpha. I don't think, even if Enzo and Cass win this match, I don't think it all of a sudden becomes a singles match. I think the story is there for Dash and Dawson, the Revival, to be in this match in some form. So I can see a triple threat happening, but I'm still under the belief that this should be the going away party for Enzo and Cass. Have the big entrance, lose the tag title match, and then show up on WWE TV post WrestleMania. But that does leave them out of NXT TakeOver Dallas and WrestleMania probably all the way. So I don't know if they would leave them off both shows.
Here's something worth mentioning. That League of Nations New Day match isn't happening as of now. Isn't happening at WrestleMania. It's happening at Roadblock.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So you could have a number of different things. We could also see a repeat of last year where they do the 4-team match at WrestleMania, but there are plenty of teams on the WWE main roster already that could be in there. So I don't know if they would place it. I see myself, the Revival, winning. I don't see a lot of change happening at Roadblock. I really just see it as it's not at the level that an Elimination Chamber was last year, where Elimination Chamber was this surprise WWE Network special, and it ended up being a big deal with, John Cena losing clean to Kevin Owens. I don't see that happening this year. I see a DQ in the main event. I see Brock Lesnar just plowing through dudes. I don't see a lot of change here. I don't see a tag title change. I don't see an NXT tag title change. I see it more as storyline development, almost like a glorified house show that you're paying pay-per-view prices to see if you're going live. But it's going to be a fun event. It'll be cool. It'll be more star power than you see on your normal live events. But as far as significance after the fact, it's an extra episode of Raw.
Yeah. Just with a like you mentioned, a little more significance, but
it does have more significance, right?
I do hope that something, and somebody says Enzo and Cass versus possibly someone at WrestleMania. I don't think that's out of the question if this is their farewell, because I think that if you debuted them next Monday night, they'll probably get a really good reaction.
Oh, sure.
Make a really good statement, and you could do that as a WrestleMania match this year. And I'm down. Enzo and Cass versus New Day. Hell yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to be clear. I see this as a more significant event than an average Raw, but after the fact, if you're expecting, I just want to go in there with tempered expectations as far as title changes, because I don't know if you'll do that. I very well could see this being Roman Reigns' return. Coming back at Roadblock, and he plays somewhat in the Dean Ambrose Triple H main event in some way, either during or afterwards. So there will be significant stuff that happens on the show. It just won't be the type of significant stuff that changes future shows in my mind. But that's why I wanted to mention it, Sean, because the only one that could change the future is that NXT tag title match. Like, that's the one, if I'm watching the show, I'm looking at and saying, okay, we could see a tag title change there. Maybe we could see something happen with American Alpha. How cool would that be if American Alpha shows up on the special? The Revival wins, and here comes American Alpha, and they set up their NXT TakeOver Dallas match in some way. It'll be fun. It'll be worth watching.
Well, they can't do that yet because they haven't aired the number one contender match.
That's right. And there you have future airing stuff that you have to mess around with too. So you could do something where American Alpha comes out and kind of makes a challenge in some way. Like, we know we have this number one contender match, but we really want you guys. And you can do a number of different things. I'm not expecting a lot in the way of title changes. I'm definitely not anticipating a Dean Ambrose title win in any way, shape, or form, which I've seen a lot of people talk about. I'm not under the belief that there's going to be a rewriting of WrestleMania happening this week on WWE TV.
Also, we had TNA Impact, one of their more noteworthy TNA Impacts in a while. It was Kurt Angle's farewell. He was gone in January, but they're just now airing it. I thought the opening was very good. Dixie Carter was very passionate, and one of the best things she's ever done in the ring, really, was her talking about Kurt Angle and how much he meant to her and TNA. It was real, and she got emotional, and I thought that was fantastic.
Because you could tell there's a lot of love for Kurt Angle there, because Kurt Angle was one of the big reasons why that company grew and survived during its highlight period.
Good God, they showed all these highlights, and I remembered how hot TNA used to be.
He's been there longer than he was with WWE. I mean, he is a TNA guy, right? I mean, he's a guy that was, a lot of his big career moments obviously were in WWE, but he had some pretty big career moments in TNA too. The longevity is there. If you're going to look at, certain guys as, he's an ECW guy or he's a WCW guy, the Dudley Boys, for example, have spent much more time in WWE than they were ever in ECW. So it is difficult to kind of take the home promotion away from a guy. But Kurt Angle's a TNA guy, and this is an Olympic hero who propped up TNA when they kept trying to get other names from WWE to come along. This was the one constant for them, and they showed their appreciation for that. Kurt Angle's a guy that's promoted TNA in a lot of different avenues. He's not like a Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan came into TNA. He was supposed to be the savior for the company, but anytime he did a media interview, he was former WWE legend, and he would talk about WWE and not TNA. Kurt Angle was going out there on the limb talking pro about TNA. So all the power to them. And Kurt Angle is, wrestling soon against Rey Mysterio on this weird UR fight show. And his career in TNA looks to be over.
With Jim Ross commentating.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a freak show extravaganza, a freak show like you don't usually get anymore, right? I mean, ever since
Roy Jones Jr. is boxing a fan.
Ever since the
Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock are supposed to fight each other. Supposed to. I don't think it'll happen, but
Ken Shamrock suspended still, right? Does this suspension cover this show, or because it was it was a 3-day suspension after the Hoist Gracie fight. So I don't know if the timeline matches.
I'll check up on that.
Yeah, but it's a freak show for sure.
I like the Angle Lashley match. I thought the end was wonky because Bobby Lashley has got to stop doing that damn flip with the spear. Moose too. Stop flipping with the spear. It doesn't look cool anymore. It looks worse.
Yeah, you're taking the spear that everyone seemingly does. I mean, we talk about Charlotte does this move, everyone does the spear. So you try to add something that makes it a little unique, but you're hitting the spear and then tumbling down in an awkward fashion. You should be adding something to the move. Even if it's something simple like Jim Duggan doing the shoulder tackle, but doing the 3-point stance beforehand, do something that is maybe part of the move, a little bit more clever. The spinning at the end is, right now we're just figure skating out here if we're just going to add spins to things.
And I love that they had him crush everybody except for EC3. He speared Drew McIntyre, Eddie Edwards, and I think somebody else, but he did the flip with it. And I was like, oh, that's crap. But I do like they protected EC3 as they should. I thought the show was really hit or miss, and I thought TNA has been very good lately. I can't get behind Josh Matthews as an announcer. Like
we've
extends,
talked about that one. Yeah, it's bad.
Like when he'll say names like Bram or Trevor Lee, he will extend the vowels into another syllable. He'll make words that are one syllable, 2 syllables, and it drives me up the damn wall. Drives me nuts. Also, I don't get the weird thrown together teams all the time. I know WWE does it a lot too, but when they have so much programming, it doesn't seem as much. And it seems like every month TNA's throwing together a couple of guys they don't know what to do with. Had a tag title change. I thought that match was good. Beer Money against the Wolves. Beer Money probably should be the tag champions. The Wolves have had it 5 times and how long have the Wolves been there? 2 years or a year and a half?
I think regularly it's a year and a half. Yeah, because they were in NXT for that 2-week trial.
But when did they start? Did they start at the beginning of 2015 or 14?
I want to say it was the beginning of 15 as regulars, but I'm not quite sure. The question I have for you with Davey is, this is the episode where he gets hurt, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the knee injury where he's going to be out for a while now. So what do you do there? They finally announced tapings. I mean, they're finally taping new TV coming up next week, so good for them. It was touch and go there if we were ever going to get new TNA television without any type of rerun period. But yeah, they're going to go live, and they've announced Jeff Hardy coming back.
Somebody says, I hate when Matthew says Dollhouse. You get it. Whoever commented that. Bryce Gaskin, you get it, buddy. Somebody says, what did you think of Beer Money winning the titles? I loved it. I thought it was good. And luckily they did because Davey got hurt.
Yeah. And that's one of their acts. They've always had this hot tag team act, and it's been Beer Money for the longest time. It was America's Most Wanted for a long time. They have these hot tag team acts, And TNA is one of those companies where you can make a hot tag team act as one of your major acts. WWE doesn't like to do it. The most recent try was New Day, and it's sort of worked maybe, but they haven't done it anytime soon after that or before that. But here you have TNA, and they can put James Storm and Robert Roode and and all these guys together, Bobby Roode, and you have a hot act all of a sudden with Beer Money again. So I'm glad they're the tag champs. I'm glad that they're getting TV time and they're getting a push behind them. Paying James Storm a lot of money is probably a big reason for that, but I'm glad TNA is focusing on guys now that have been TNA guys. Bobby Roode and James Storm are TNA guys. So push them, ride with them, and it's going to be a good thing for TNA, especially if they ever run house shows again, which doesn't seem likely this year. If they run house shows with them, Bobby Roode and James Storm are guys that people would go watch, I think.
I think your camera went out. So
am I stuck?
Yeah, exit the chat, come back in. I'll run through the rest of the show.
Okay.
While you do that. Yeah, my thing with TNA, as good as the show has been lately, it feels like a lot of the guys are going through the motions, and TNA does this thing where they will put guys who are not exceptional on the mic, and then guys who are exceptional on the mic don't seem to get to that time, and I think that's a little bit weird. The practice and experience, maybe it needs to come somewhere else, but a lot of those guys just don't seem natural on the mic. Rob, are you back with us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I cannot see you.
All right, I'm going to try this. We're going to go to backup camera maybe, but it's still not working, is it?
It's okay. Just go back out. We're just talking TNA here.
I'll be right back.
But yeah, one of the things I really love, Matt Hardy has committed himself to that role. Fantastic. Somebody says Decay is probably who they're feuding with next. I'd be cool with that. I wasn't a Crazy Steve fan at all. Those Marilyn Manson music videos have gone a long way, but props to Billy Corgan for pulling that one off. Hey, your video is back.
Hey, but guess what's still not working? These damn blocks where it'll say my name. It's just, wait a second. Did
you figure it out?
No, it's still not. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I don't know. I do everything it's supposed to tell me to do.
Nobody will know who you are.
Nobody will. At Shake Them Ropes on Twitter. I'm Rob, by the way. It's only an hour in, but I use this Google stuff. I am a millennial who doesn't know how to use the internet, apparently. What are you going to do? If you watch any of my videos, you know that I try my hardest. But this one is just stumping me. My camera's not working for some reason, which is probably the best for all of you. I mean, who needs to say this face? I saw someone in the chat room wanted to see this bald head I referenced before. Go back to episode 1 that I did last week, 3/2, March 2nd. You can go see this great bald head of mine. But right now I'm so ashamed. It's so red. The light I have in this room is directly above me. So not only is my head shiny already, but it's even shinier. It would glare off the screen. It would kill you. Did you just
heal the people? Did you just tease a bald head showing and you're like, you got to save it for the pay-per-view on Saturday?
You know what? That's a good idea.
I think you did.
It's a good idea, brother. I'm gonna let's do this actually. Let's do this, Mr. Sean Ross Sapp. If Enzo and Cass win the NXT tag team titles at WWE Roadblock, I will wear no hat. I will, in fact, put this hat back in its case, ready to be prepared in a stew of some kind when CM Punk fights in UFC.
Yeah.
No hat. I will wear nothing. I will shave because right now this is gross. I haven't shaved in like 6 days. It's unbelievably bad. I can't grow a beard like you. Your beard looks awesome. I wish one day I could ever do that, but I can't even do that. I can't do it. But I will wear no hat of any kind. I will drink if permitted. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe.
You're allowed to drink. Raj drinks all the time. He drinks wine on the show all the time.
I will be in celebratory mood, but I will make sure that I'm on it so my energy is still there because we're going to be recording this at like 11 o'clock at night.
Shroom Tech.
Yes, I'm going to support the sponsors onit.com/wrestling. I will show you my bald head and you will forever regret it. This is the anti pay-per-view tease, really, because I'm going to give you what you don't know you don't want. But that's if Enzo and Cass win the tag team titles. I'll have to figure out what happens if the Revival.
You talked about my beard, and I thought about shaving. Then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna save that in case we get a razor sponsor like Dollar Shave Club or something like that. If we get a razor sponsor, razor companies, if you sponsor us, hey, and you bring us more podcasts, because that's how we're able. A lot of you all make jokes about On It and DDP Yoga. Hey, this is why we get to do 3 or 4 shows a week now, is because of these great people at On It and DDPyoga.com/Wrestling Inc.
If we get Dollar Shave Club, I'll shave the head.
Ha! Well,
now it'll be all shiny, because at least there's hair around kind of the edges. I got that little bowl thing going on, so like at least there's hair around the edges to kind of dim in the sunlight. Yeah. But if I shave this head, oh boy, it's just going to be like, I don't even know. It's going to be one of those car windshield blockers that blocks the sun, the tinfoil, just popping right back at the camera. You are going to hate it. You are going to be like, Sean Ross Sapp, we loved Rob at first, but now we can't do it. We can't look at the screen. It's just too shiny. You'll have to turn off my camera again. Somehow you turned off that camera. I know you did. But it'll be fun. If Enzo and Cass win the tag team titles, I will show you this bald head again. But, not to tease the people, if you go back and watch the first episode I was on March 2nd, you can kind of see it for free already.
Somebody says drink On It. Well, you know what, buddy? You can drink On It, because onit.com/wrestling also has On It Alpha Brain Instant, which you can pour into a drink. So don't get smart, buddy. Also, Jim Ross debuted as New Japan on Access's new play-by-play guy. I thought he was pretty good, not to the level of Mauro Ranallo, but let's be real. Jim Ross is a little past his prime in that regard, but still. He told me in an interview a couple weeks ago, I talked to him for a feature I'm doing, and he said that they're going to show the Kyle O'Reilly-Kushida match, and I can't wait for that. I don't like to watch a lot of wrestling without commentary unless it's like maybe PWG, but that match I watched, and Kushida, Kyle O'Reilly was my favorite match of 2015. Actually voted for it in several Match of the Year awards. But loved it. Can't wait for that. Also, Top Prospect Tournament on Ring of Honor TV this week. Is it Leo Rush or Lio Rush? How do I pronounce that?
I thought it was Lio Rush, but
he won. He beat Brian Fury, and it was a really good match. Very good match. I
don't have the Ring of Honor affiliate, so I don't get the TV.
RingofHonorWrestling.com.
I know. Well, yeah. So you can go to Ring of Honor Wrestling, ROHWrestling.com. But it's hard watching, like, even when I'm watching NXT, I watch it on the Apple TV. Like, it's hard to kind of watch these shows on the computer, because I'm like that. I'm a millennial again. I'm not ADD, but I'm kind of ADD, where if I'm watching something on the one window, like I'm talking to Sean Ross Sapp right now, I'm looking at him, I kind of still want to do something else, but I don't. I'm here for the show. I'm here for Sean. But you know what I mean? You're watching a show on streamed. I open up another browser, then I open up another browser. All of a sudden, I missed the entire Roderick Strong main event. And I'm like, what did I do? So I really, at some point, I hope I get an affiliate here so I can at least record it of some kind.
Yeah, mine shows like 2 or 3 times throughout the weekend. So on my DVR, I always have 2 or 3 recordings, but a lot of those get preempted pretty regularly. So I don't get to see him. Somebody says Mil Muertes looks like he kills somebody with a spear. Yeah, he does. Speaking of, you all need to go out of your way to watch the Lucha Underground main event this week. It was Mil Muertes versus Pentagon Jr. versus Prince Puma. Unbelievable match. Probably a top 5 match I've seen this year. Fantastic, unbelievable. It was a spot fest, as you expect from a Lucha Underground title match, triple threat main event. Go out of your way to watch that. I won't even spoil it for people who haven't seen it, because a lot of people get mad if we spoil Lucha Underground before they get a chance to watch it. But I'm going to talk a little bit about it anyway. Unbelievable stuff. Just great. These 3 guys have been booked very well. Lucha Underground does some really good things. I think it's been kind of a slow season so far, but this was really good. Also, a couple things I liked. They looked like they're pairing Jack Evans and PJ Black, the Darewolf with his Daredevil gimmick. Perfect matching right there. Only way it could be more perfect is if Angelico gets thrown in there, but I don't want him to, because he's with Son of Havoc and Evilise, which are my favorite trio in the universe right now. Like they're above Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks for me. I love them that much, Rob.
Hey, you love who you love. I'm glad that you find something. You know, I'm waiting for this season of Lucha Underground to kind of, you know, kick into high gear because it's been a little off, a little wonky.
Slow as I mentioned, yeah.
Follow there are GIFs online right now of tonight's episode of a nunchuck battle.
Yeah, indeed.
Go find that nunchuck battle GIF. I don't know what you have to search for. You may have to just search nunchuck battle, nunchuck backstage. If you don't watch Lucha Underground, go just watch this GIF of the nunchuck battle and tell me you don't want to watch the next episode of Lucha Underground. Dare you?
You know, Jack Evans was actually the first person that ever got me to watch Ring of Honor with the double moonsault in the scramble cage match. I think I downloaded it or somebody sent me a clip through like MSN Messenger in 2004, 2005. And I saw that and I was like, I want to check this out. And on and off, I watched Ring of Honor after that.
Jack Evans was the first person to ever get me to watch a Teddy Hart match.
Oh, wow.
I did not want to watch Teddy Hart matches. And then, of course, they teamed Jack Evans with Teddy Hart and they put him in the scramble cage. Oh, yeah. The scramble cage melee, as Gabe used to call it on Ring of Honor. Back in Edison, New Jersey, I think was the big one. Teddy Hart just goes nuts. But yeah, Jack Evans, I think was a lot of firsts for those who watched indie wrestling in the mid 2000s. You know, he was quite the contrast to what you were seeing in a lot of high level indie wrestling because he did a lot of backyard stuff, but this was a talented guy who was doing the break dancing and the high flying moves and, you know, just athletic as hell. And Jack Evans still going. You know, a lot of people kind of fell out of the Jack Evans information wagon when he went to AAA and went to Mexico. And now he's coming back in the U.S. consciousness, still around.
He said, I'll never forget an interview where he was asked why he hasn't went further in wrestling. And his answer was, you try being Teddy Hart's best friend and see where that gets you.
Hey, I'm telling you, the first Teddy Hart match I watched was because of this guy. But you're right. I mean, being Teddy Hart's best friend, there are two of them. There are two Teddy Hart friends out there, and one is a feline.
That's true. He does have a crazy ass cat. And you know what? I'm a cat guy. I love cats, but I've heard that his goes everywhere with him. Guys, we're going to be back tomorrow night at 10 Eastern. Myself, Rob, and Raj. Myself and Rob will be back Saturday night after Roadblock. I don't even know what time Roadblock ends, but whenever Roadblock ends, that's when we're doing a show. Make sure you visit onit.com/wrestling and ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Also tomorrow, because, you know, we've got SmackDown to cover, maybe not a lot of news. We're going to be answering a ton of questions that we didn't get to Monday. So we'll have myself, Raj, Rob weigh in. I know if some of you have asked, much like how we got into wrestling, that you all want to know how Raj got into what he does. So maybe we'll ask that. That'll be interesting to hear. Rob, any parting words for our wonderful viewing audience?
I will be much more informed tomorrow. I'm going to watch SmackDown. We're going to watch all of it. I was out of the loop this weekend with the trip to Vegas. Like I said, and this is not being facetious, I was getting into this house an hour ago, but an hour before we started the show. So I was kind of out of the loop, had to catch up really quick on some grappling. But we will do any questions you have about anything. I will happily answer because I am an open book. I'm sure Raj will answer too. I'm sure Sean will answer too. And then, yes, we are going to be back after Roadblock to see if this bald head is shown. You will know right away the result of the NXT tag title match by whether or not there's something on this head. So tune in Saturday night around 10:30, I'm guessing, because the show is apparently going to start at 7:30. So around 10:30, I'm guessing we're going to be up here talking about Roadblock and seeing exactly what has changed. Follow me on Twitter at ShakeThemRopes, and you can catch all my stuff there. And I hope we can interact with each other. I know I got to see the chat room today for the first time, so I'm glad I got in there a little bit. Hopefully I can get in there more. And
This is a very tame YouTube chat room compared to the Monday nights. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
we compared it. We said that the Wrestling Inc. board were the baby faces. Somebody says, "Oh God, I'm not even going to repeat that comment," because I was about to say, you see what it is.
I want to see it.
You see the comment. Don't repeat it.
Okay.
and we said that the YouTube people are the heels, and we've got a couple heels in there right now, but it's been pretty tame, honestly. But guys, yeah, Wrestling Inc. or ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc, onit.com/wrestling. I love doing these shows for you all. Rob loves being here. Vince loves being here. Raj loves being here. So the more you support, the more we do.
Bye.
We will catch you guys later. See you tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Be there.